Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm Tugger, and I'm, of course, as usual, joined by the Arbiter of Taste himself, Abram Buhner. And today we're going to be talking about video games. We're back. I think this is episode 16. I don't know. I usually remember the episode number by looking at how many videos we've uploaded on YouTube. I have to refresh myself every week. But we've got some interesting stuff to talk about this week. Some things you might not be expecting. But Abram, just hit me off with something random. There're probably games that you've played that I don't even know you played. So maybe one of those.
Okay, let's talk about let's talk about Down in Bermuda.
That's not real? What?
Down in
Are
Bermuda
you fucking with me?
is a Nintendo Switch game that began
No, you're
over
not
an
fucking.
Apple Arcade.
You're not fucking with me.
No, Apple Arcade has a lot of really, I think, interesting games, but I'm not an Apple guy, so I don't have access to Apple Arcade. So I just wait for them all to inevitably be ported to Switch for way too much fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
Down in Bermuda is a really cute little puzzle game that has like a Donut County-esque art style.
Sure.
That they were charging $20 for. So I waited until it went on sale for $6 on the eShop.
Okay. Much more
and then
reasonable.
used some shop credit
Yeah.
to get it for $2. And I certainly
Solid
am
price.
glad because I played it for about 15 minutes and then stopped because it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. All right. There's a whole host of things there to dig into.
Basically, Down in Bermuda has a really cute premise. You play as this pilot who gets shot down or crashes in the Bermuda Triangle,
Mm-hmm.
and you're exploring these little islands full of basically full of these cutesy versions of lore and like folk tales surrounding the Bermuda Triangle.
Sure.
It's an interesting premise with a great art style, but its puzzles have no semblance of intuition at all.
Okay.
It's a game where like you pull levers and you touch stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the gameplay. It's very obviously a casual iPad game, right?
Yeah.
And because
Sure.
it's Apple Arcade, it's a more confined experience. There's of course no microtransactions. It's a more deliberately sculpted game.
Yeah.
But it's still made for people who are sipping their wine and watching the news as they're tapping around on their iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, there's I don't think any compelling gameplay here. And frankly, it doesn't make sense to me. I played the first little island. There's 6 islands. I got to the second one, and I'm like, they're like, okay, now go find things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start. It's almost like Captain Toad-esque in the sense that you've got these little island dioramas and you're supposed to turn around and look at them. But they make it completely unclear as to what the point of the gameplay is.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, here, let's open up some windows so these sea creatures can get out. So start pulling levers and touching buttons. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So don't play Down in Bermuda.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I'd never heard of this game. I did think you were messing with me.
No,
I
I was
thought
not
you
messing
were
with you.
trying to come up with something. But what do you want to? Why did you pick this up? Like, why were you intrigued by this?
Mostly because of that art style. I just
Sure.
check out the new releases on Switch from time to time.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I just thought the art style was really charming. I thought the premise was really charming. And coming from Apple Arcade, I've covered for back when I was writing for Nintendo, I had some different Apple Arcade titles that did come to Switch, and I enjoyed a lot of them. So I was like, you know what, maybe we'll give it a shot. And at $2, like, I'm not gonna pass it up.
Yeah, no, that's very reasonable.
So just to tack one other thing onto that really quickly.
Why not?
Because I didn't like that, but I wanted an interesting puzzle game with a fun art style. I bought finally a game I've been wanting to play for a long time. I Am Dead from Annapurna.
We were thinking about playing that a while ago, but we ended up not.
I played about, I'd say 20 minutes of it, and then I had to go work out before a recording session yesterday for BLB that never happened.
Yep.
And then as I sat down to play more of it, Tucker's like, let's review a different game. So we started a game that we'll talk about later. So I don't have any thoughts on I Am Dead.
That is one of the before this you were saying like, hey, I've got some quick touch upons, quick flybys. I assume that's one of them.
Yes.
Well, I've got one that I want to fly right into. I noticed that I do these transitions where I like try to tie the end of your sentence to the beginning of mine, and
I like them.
Honestly, it pisses me off. Like when I'm editing the videos, I'm like, wow, I'm an asshole. I hate this.
Sure.
But I still do it. It's an addiction, man.
I like them. I like segues.
Okay, sure. Well,
especially ham-fisted ones.
Yeah, well, that one's really ham-fisted. But I played The Vanishing of Ethan Carter this week, and I'm so fucking disappointed, man. I'm a big walking sim guy. I'm a big Gone Home, what it means to be the Finch, Firewatch. I think there's one other I can't quite place my finger on at the moment, but I go into this game thinking, look, I love this genre. This one's got tons of critical acclaim, and I just think this game is all of the worst aspects of the walking sim genre with very little intrigue. And it just pissed me off in the like what 3 hours that I played it.
Can you hit me with a quick like top level what the game is? Because I only know it by name.
Sure. So the story is very ethereal. It's
Good
intentionally
word.
told through strange flashbacks. Like it makes sense in the story of the game. But
Sure.
you are a paranormal investigator who has received a letter from a young boy named Ethan Carter who has gone missing, and he wants you to figure out why things are going weird in his town. So you show up to this town, I think called Red Creek or something like that, in Ohio or Wisconsin or some fucking place, and you get to solve a bunch of little mysteries. Except for the game starts off with black screen, white text. This game is a narrative adventure and does not hold your hand. And you know that's a plus to some people who are like, yes, I hate how games hold your hand nowadays. But this game takes that so far that I do think that it ruins the experience of
Sure.
discovering the story and can cause quite a bit of frustration. My unfortunate sales pitch for this game, which is a combination of good things, but I don't think pans out in a great way, is this is Gone Home meets Myst.
Okay.
Um, in the way of walking simulator Gone Home, that was kind of the one that started the genre. But Myst in terms of you're picking up items and placing them in certain places, and it's really not, I want to use the word ethereal again, but um unintuitive in the ways that you find things.
Esoteric.
Esoteric, sure. That's kind of exactly what I was going for. In where you find items and place them down, and it doesn't point you in any specific direction, because one of this game's strong suits that I will completely give praise for is that the environments are incredibly well designed in terms of visual detail, in terms of not feeling like, oh, there's just like a random wall here. Everything does feel really organic, and there are hills and there are rocks, and it's all really high def and detailed. Like it looks great for a 2015 game. This game has amazing visuals. Um, but unfortunately, those very organic environments don't really lend themselves to naturally pushing you to find the next item or thing that you might need to solve a mystery. And the basic gameplay of it, aside from walking around, is solving a little puzzle with placing items and stuff, and getting these flashbacks to what happened, to how someone died, to what happened in this room to cause it to burn down or something like that. And you see these little flashbacks of the ghosts of people doing things, and you have to place them in the timeline order. And unfortunately, that gets old really fucking quick.
Sure.
I mean, that they use that puzzle format 6 or 7 times out of like the 10, a little over 10 puzzles.
Yeah.
And the other kinds of puzzles I think are a little more engaging. Unfortunately, some of them are not great. But I just found that gameplay loop to be so uninviting and unintuitive. And also the world to be really not great to explore because it's actually surprisingly big and there's a lot of downtime and you end up wandering around a lot. That I just was frustrated for a lot of this game. And I've never felt that with any of the other walking sim games I've played, because
Sure.
you're usually funneled through with some sort of narrative, with some sort of twinkling thing in the distance that you're like, okay, I want to go over there, I want to see what's going on. But this game is intended for you to take your time, absorb the environment, and just, yeah, I mean, really just take your time with things. And unfortunately, maybe that's just not the gameplay I was looking for or what I want in a walking sim game. But I just found this game to be incredibly mediocre, and I do not understand the praise for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with it, other than the fact that I thought it reviewed well,
It
but
did. It
um,
certainly did. Lots of people 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s.
yeah,
Yeah.
it reminds me in some senses of how I felt playing Hyper Light Drifter, where the
Okay.
game was just so archaic that it got in its own way.
Hmm.
And I am one that does not particularly like a lot of hand holding, but I think there's a balance to be found between too much and absolutely none.
Hmm.
So I can totally see where you're coming from. I don't think I'm ever going to play this game,
No, you don't
but
need to.
yeah,
I think the fact that they start off being proud of this is a narrative experience and doesn't hold your hand,
Yeah,
that's kind of a flashing warning sign in my brain. It's like,
sure.
well, okay, they intentionally designed this to be antithetical to modern game design, where there is a lot of tutorial and hand holding, and they're like, hey, look, it's like the old days. It's like Myst, it's like Riven. Like, you can go back to the time where games didn't just play themselves. But I kind of wish there was one played itself, because also the fact that I was getting frustrated and I was just wandering around a lot meant that I did not give a shit about the narrative. And also, I
Yeah,
didn't find the narrative very interesting. There's a lot of these weird bits where it's like trying to create like a history and lore and like magic and monsters and stuff like that. But it doesn't show you any of it. It's all through, well, I mean, it shows you some through cutscenes and flashbacks, but it's all like written, which
yeah,
makes sense in the lore. But I did find that to be not very compelling format of storytelling.
makes sense.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a game with no storytelling?
What? I don't. Huh? Go. Sure. Yeah.
Talk about Doom, the original 1993 Doom.
Oh.
This
Okay.
is the last game I want to just give a brief mention to because I only played a couple levels of it. I just have it on my Switch, and I was like, I've never really played this. I'm going to hop into it for a second. It's an interesting game that I am planning on beating before too
Hmm.
long.
Yeah.
So I'll probably
Well,
have
it's
more.
not long.
Yeah, it's not long. I've got a car ride back to college in a couple days, so I might just blast through it then. But it's interesting. I'll save most of my thoughts for when I actually finish it. But I think it still holds up very well.
Yeah.
What's most curious about it is that there is no y-axis in this game,
Exactly. Yes.
which is interesting. Anywhere you're just moving your x-axis, and no matter if someone's up here or down there, you will hit them as long as
Yup.
you're lined up. Which I think gives it an interesting charm. Where the gameplay has a really solid loop to it, especially when you get your shotgun and just killing everything in one
Yeah.
hit. It's fun. I think that the let's find the color key card to open the color door is
Yeah.
not especially engaging, but I do like the gameplay loop, so I'm gonna go through it because I think it's an important game,
Yeah.
especially as someone who really enjoys first person shooters.
Hmm. I have played that exact game on
Yeah,
Steam. I got it for fucking 99 cents or something. That game is cheap as all hell. Um, and as you said, it's on Switch. I think the first three are on Switch.
Doom 1, 2, 3, and 64 on Switch,
64.
as well as of
Yes.
course 2016 and Eternal.
Yes. And I played it a while ago, and it was one of my first. It was the first Doom game I played, and
Yeah.
one of my introductions into that sort of older style of first person shooter. And I do think it's kind of fun. It's just kind of a cute gim- gimmick, quote unquote, to not have a y axis and to like have a guy up on a ledge and you shoot at like 20 feet below his feet and he dies, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that was funny. It doesn't do much for the gameplay. But I think there's a lot to respect about it in terms of how it influenced game design. But I think that also it, in some ways, doesn't hold up very well. The environment design and the texture repetitiveness
Yeah.
and just the fact that you get stuck in these corridors and it's really there's no map as far as I remember.
I mean, there
Um,
is there is a map in the Switch version. I don't know if that was
okay.
there originally, but there's a full map.
Yeah, maybe I'm misremembering, but it's really easy to get lost and it starts to feel samey. But
Yeah.
I do think that the weapons are really cool. I think that the shooting itself is fun. The enemy designs are interesting. So there is stuff to enjoy. It's a game that I recommend at least trying. But I don't know. It's not a. I mean, it was a game changer, but not anymore. Certainly been surpassed.
Yeah, I think one thing that is still fun about it is that it's not a cover shooter, which we're
Hmm.
so used to. So breaking that, a shooter actually about movement. I always love that's part of why I
Yeah.
love the Halo games. So going back to that more like arena, let's move, get the player moving, get the enemies moving, design it is fun. So when I actually beat it, I'll give actual in depth thoughts.
I've got another game without storytelling. Tetris 99.
Okay,
I don't know why this excites you so much, but
you'll see.
my good buddy Tanner Dykstra was. Oh well, yeah, actually, I do know exactly why it excites you so much. But
Yes,
Tanner was starting Yakuza Zero and playing Far Cry 3 Classic,
cool.
and I was sitting on the couch with him, and I didn't want to start a new game that was story heavy or that I had really paid attention to. So I was playing a little bit of Picross S5, which I've talked about in the past, which I'm not going to bring up here. But also, I just hopped in Tetris 99 because I've been thinking about Tetris recently, and I'm not good at Tetris. And I wish that there was an easier way to just play normal Tetris on Switch. I wish that Tetris was on NES Online. But I I mean, it's fucking Tetris. It's fucking Tetris. And a lot of I think the presentation around the gameplay in Tetris 99 is pretty generic. I mean, you get these. I mean, of course, there are these skins that are a little bit seasonal, and you can unlock things if you get tickets and stuff. And I don't really know how all that works. The game doesn't really teach you how the specific 99 mechanics work, with sending blocks to different people. But the solid gameplay of Tetris is good enough to carry it, and the fact that you're battling against other people is a cool off novelty to carry it. But I do think that everything around it with the presentation of the weirdly generic like icons you can unlock, and the menu presentation and stuff is just all a little bit flat, and I wish it was a little more, celebratory of Tetris, things like that. But I don't know, I had a good time with it. I just want to play normal Tetris, I guess.
Well, so if you're willing to pay for it, you can in Tetris 99.
Oh, I guess there is a single player, yeah.
If it's like $10. I haven't bought it. I love Tetris 99. I've played 20 hours of it.
Wow.
I think it's a really, really fun game. There's a period of time back when it was newer in 2019, where I'd basically every day when I'd come home to relax for a little bit, I'd put on like a podcast or something and play just a shit ton of rounds. I never got first place.
No.
Got a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, never got first place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's such a fun gameplay system, especially when you as soon as the 99 mechanics click, it's very simple and a lot of fun, and I think you would like it. And there are so many really cool skins. I think what's fun about it is similar to Tetris DS. There's a lot of Nintendo content here that you can unlock, and unlike Tetris DS, there's no licensing issues, makes the game impossible to get your hands on. So I think if you want to get back into it a little bit more, I think a lot of your problems with the game would be solved just with a little bit more experience in it. But Tetris 99 is a lot of fun, and I think it, especially back in 2019, it was a definitive reason to have Nintendo Switch Online, I think.
Sure, yeah.
Can we talk about another Tetris game?
Yeah, let's do it. This is a nice flow.
It was phenomenal flow. I played the journey mode of Tetris Effect Connected on my Xbox Series S, and this is one of the most stunning gameplay experiences I've ever had. People talked about back when Tetris Effect originally launched on a PS4, but they're like, this might be my game of the year, but I'm not going to give my game of the year to Tetris. I remember certain people talking about that. It's like, okay, I mean, yeah, Tetris is a lot of fun. I really enjoy Tetris. I really like Tetris 99, where I've played in other places. I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't understand why this game is so special until I actually played it.
Yeah.
Tetris Effect Connected's journey mode is basically like I would say 2-hour single player campaign.
Okay.
And it's stunning.
Okay.
The way because there is what I didn't realize and made me feel dumb is the Tetris effect is an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically I get this more with other games and with chess. Actually, I get this a lot because I like chess quite a bit. Where you close your eyes and you see Tetris pieces falling in your head. That's the Tetris effect, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And what Tetris Effect Connected does so well is gets you into this really cerebral place where you're just playing and you're clearing lines and you're being greeted by these disparate sounds and visual styles that are so compelling and I think emotional in a lot of senses. A lot of the music here is some of the best I've ever heard in a video game.
Wow.
And the way it interfaces with the visuals and then the visuals interface with the gameplay, it just creates this zen that you get into deeper than I think you can get into with any other Tetris game. What it creates, what it evokes is so special. And it reminded me in a lot of ways of Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Sure. Yeah.
When you're really feeling the music and you're feeling the gameplay beats there, it's the same thing, but you're playing Tetris. And Tetris is not a new thought, but a perfect gameplay experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're getting into it and you're clearing lines and you've got this beautiful music behind you and these beautiful visuals and you're playing on a console with an SSD, so it's loading fucking instantly and you're it's incredible. This game really is incredible. And playing through Game Pass feels like I'm robbing somebody.
Sure.
Because this is not an experience you should be able to have for free through Game Pass. Mm-hmm. Free. But it's really, really astounding. I think I gave this game 5 stars on Letterboxd. Yeah. And my review, it's the same thing. My review was basically just turn out the lights and put in your headphones and play the game. There's nothing to say.
Yeah.
Because this game is all about feel.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling it evokes is just incredible. And it's legitimately emotional. Some of the tracks here and the way it unfolds is just incredible. And it has different difficulty modes, just so you know. You
Sure.
can go on beginner. I played on normal. The last challenge has you clearing 90 lines, alternating between kind of fast and go fuck yourself fast, which took me a couple tries to beat, and I felt really good when I finally beat it. But it's really accessible for any, I think, skill level of Tetris. Just play it. Go on Jenny Pass and fucking play this game. It's so good.
Okay, the reason I've been I'm not skeptical, but like, for some reason I thought Tetris Effect Connected was not available on Xbox One. I thought it was only a series thing. Am I wrong?
Oh, I don't know that, to be totally honest with you.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. It wouldn't make a lot of sense with the way that Microsoft has been presenting their games across generations. But there's just something in my fucking craw of my brain that is just like telling me that I can't play it. I know that it's not on PlayStation. It is an Xbox exclusive. But,
Tetris, I don't know really. I think the Tetris Effect Connected, I think the only difference is the multiplayer mode, which I have not played.
Yeah.
So I bet you'd get a commensurate experience on Tetris Effect PS4, and maybe that's on Joe Pass. I don't know. These references make no sense to the audience.
No, it doesn't. But I think that's fucking funny.
But
get fucked, guys.
I almost bought it again on PS4 because this in VR I think would be next fucking level.
Yeah,
and it would not make me motion sick because I get motion sick playing most VR stuff, but this would not make me motion sick. I don't think.
I'm still trying to do. Is Tetris? If
I know it was a launch day thing for Series S and Series X.
Connected on Xbox One.
That's a good question. By the way, it
as you're looking for Series X/S.
If it's just optimized,
I'll just look. I can just go on the fucking Xbox.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
This little gentleman here, I was really skeptical of this D-pad until I started playing Tetris with it, and it's really great, actually. Sure. It's very
clicky.
It's very clicky, and it's weird because it's what's that, concave, I believe. Yeah, concave goes down. So it's fun rolling your finger along it. When I play Cyber Shadow tonight, or probably tomorrow morning, I'll see how it really holds up. But I basically just filling air while you're fucking Googling stuff.
No, that's fine.
But it proved that it's a better controller than I thought. I actually really love that controller. But I love Tetris Effect Connected. In this game, I'm not one of those dirty port backers, but this needs to be on Switch.
Yeah.
This is a perfect.
It's interesting that it's not.
I would imagine there's probably some kind of like exclusivity being passed around between Sony, Microsoft, you know. So maybe it's going to come to Switch eventually. It should.
Yeah.
But damn, it's one of the best games I play on my Xbox. Damn.
Well, damn, I would like you to present me with another game because I think you have so many more than me that I just want to have something closer.
So I have two more.
Okay. Yeah, then hit me with another one because I only have one.
Okay.
Well, is one of them the one that we both played?
No.
Okay, then never mind. Yeah, then we're fine.
I just want to touch on, because I touched on it a lot last week, but I beat it. Halo Reach.
Okay.
I think the one thing I have to add now, having beaten the game since we last talked, is that not only is the gameplay incredible, but there's an emotional heart, especially at the ending of this game, that I didn't expect.
Sure.
There's a last mission, and for people who have played it, it's just this sinking gut feeling where you know that this mission is not going to end.
Yeah.
Until something happens. And that's all I'm going to say. And it's really, you do the vibe check. I've never actually looked to see if I have goosebumps because I think it's a little bit weird, but I might a little bit thinking about it. I really loved Halo Reach. I think that this is a truly special game. And this is, if I were to edit the list you made me of my top 100 games, Halo Reach would be very high on that list.
Well, you should.
I should.
Yeah, you really should. That'd be kind of fun to do at some point. We should
yeah. But I mean, I'm not going to share too much because I talked about it a lot more last week. But I'm done with it now, and I loved it, and I'm excited to play more Halo.
So this is just another touch upon similar situation to you. I beat the Wolfenstein: The New Order this week. I talked about it a lot last week, but I pushed it to the end, and I think that game is great. I don't think that the ending boss fight quote unquote are that great.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a kind of an underwhelming ending. I think the emotional ending is pretty impactful, but the ways that the game wraps up and impacts the characters, I think is cool. But unfortunately, the gameplay experience near the end was just like, oh, okay. But I don't know. I don't really know what I expected it to be. I mean, it kind of made
Sure.
sense in the story of what you were gonna do. There's a cool twist boss fight near the end, which I'm not going to spoil, but I really did enjoy that. Unfortunately, the gameplay of that not great, but the story reason behind it pretty cool. But the other game that I played and beat this week, I don't know if I told you about this, is I played and beat Mega Man 3.
I read your review.
Oh, well, backlog seems to be spoiling my BLB surprises. But Mega Man 3 is pretty stinking great. A man that we both much respect when Colin Moriarty as favorite game of all time. I
The
think
only
that's
man that I support on Patreon.
I think that's a little bit ridiculous, but I respect it because this is better than Mega Man 2. It is. And that might be fucking heresy, but the ways that it does small improvements to the Mega Man formula, of course, games growing as they fucking
Yeah.
release them. I think just make it a little more engaging. The introduction of Proto Man as sort of the side character and Rush. Not only is Rush better than the items that you can get that do similar things in Mega Man 1 and 2, because he's a fucking dog and that's great, but it's a fun little character thing. And I think the fact that they introduced Rush and Proto Man just to expand the world of it a little bit and fill out these characters and what's happening around you. It's not just
Yeah.
Wily Light and then roll in the background, like popping her head out for 25 seconds. I think is really cool. I think that the ways that it handles nostalgia for Mega Man 1 and 2, it has some throwback sections I think are pretty neat. It has the easiest Wily Castle of the three. Of course, I'm playing all this with heavy use of rewind, so take the with
Yeah.
however you will. But I found the Wily Castle to be really easy in comparison. The item balancing is a lot more generous in this game, and that certainly makes it feel like you can take on a lot more challenging things. Some of the items are not very useful, but I think that's a across the series thing. Some of them are a lot more useful than others, but the ones that are useful are very interesting. Yeah, I don't know, very fun game. Surprisingly great background visuals and stuff. I mean, it looks like an indie game trying to recreate that would come out today. Which of course we talked about with Ninja Gaiden and things like that. There's some surprisingly great NES pixel art still,
Yes.
that I'm just now really discovering. But Mega Man 3, really good game. Best of the three I've played so far.
I've played a little bit of Mega Man 3. My only point of reference for Mega Man really is Colin Moriarty,
Yeah.
who always talks about it being the best Mega Man game. So I'm very excited that you're playing through them. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on like 4, 5, and 6, because I feel like less people talk about those.
Yeah.
I could be completely just not educated enough on the series, but I'll be curious to see how your thoughts shift and change.
One thing that is disappointing about this game is it's
Yeah.
got no the classic Mega Man 2 opening cutscene with the pan up
Yeah.
of the building stuff. It's just you just hit a black logo screen and then it's level select. There's no
Yeah.
intro. There's no story. I don't even know how the story is supposed to be told. I mean, I know it from what I've done research on, but there's no like story explanation for anything, which is just weirdly disappointing and like a step back for no reason. Apparently, this game's development was very rushed, which is interesting. But yeah, rush. But I don't know. Really good game. I'm excited to see how I enjoy the series going forward.
Let's do a little bit of a rock block of things we're not going to really talk about because they're going to be featured in other BLB content.
Good point. Should have started with
Uh,
that, to be honest.
yeah. So I played and completed a Metroid Prime.
Yep.
Really enjoyed it, but I've got some very specific flaws with it that I want to discuss, and we do discuss it in our filmed review of the game, which will probably go up after. We haven't decided yet, but it's going to go up around this video.
Yeah.
So either you will have already seen it, or it won't have come out yet. But the point is, we reviewed it, so
It's
we're not going
around
to talk about it here.
If you want to hear more about our thoughts on Metroid Prime, go check out that video. I'll
Yes,
maybe retroactively add a card in the corner, but who knows?
probably not.
Sometimes I go back like a solid month later and I rewatch my videos like, oh shit, I should have added a card. And I add the card. So sometimes they're added.
Tucker, let's chat just for a minute. Just for a minute or
No,
2
I
minutes.
don't like talking to you. Fuck you. All right.
About the next game we're reviewing that we both started last night,
Mm-hmm.
and that is Nier Automata.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Present your
uh,
thesis. Present your thesis, because that's
it's
really the only reason we're talking about it here.
it's horny Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's the so I like Nier Automata a lot in concept, kind of, but only parts of the concept. I'm really excited to review this game because I really am not sure I like it. There's a lot to like, but I think that the gameplay is kind of shallow. I think that the world design is interesting conceptually, but the multitude of invisible walls and everything makes the world feel kind of shallow.
Yeah.
I think the combat's fun, but it's also kind of shallow.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I think the story is interesting. But I think the story is very heavy-handed.
Mm.
I love the music.
Yeah,
I like a lot of the visual elements of the game. I'm going to at least complete the first route.
Mm-hmm.
Yokotaro Ono has another thing coming to him if he thinks I'm going to play the exact same thing again with a different character to get the other part of the game.
Yeah, so here's the thing: is we did some firsthand research. Well, secondhand. Yeah, that's the correct.
We went to a primary source.
Yeah, we went to a primary source using references from like high school and stuff. But we talked to people who have played the game and very much enjoyed it.
In our Discord, join our Discord, link in the description.
Join our Discord, link in the description, yes. And just to know what we were getting into, what the best way to play the game was, just what to expect. And what we've heard is that really the best way to experience this game is to play the multiple endings, giving you more varied gameplay, better perspective on the story, more complete experience of the story. And as someone who is notorious for not playing things past just the credits, the ending, I'm actually interested to play multiple endings of this game and see if it changes my perspective on that. And I think that there will be a fucking massive divide in our opinions if I end up playing multiple endings and you stick to just the one, because what we've heard from these firsthand sources is that that there's not really much to playing just the first ending. What we heard was maybe you complete ending A in like 4 hours, something like that.
I heard 12 to 16 hours today.
Oh, well, then fucking our friend lied to us.
Or the other person lied. Who knows?
Yeah, I really don't know. But I'm very intrigued by this game because the fan base around it and the surprising amount of praise that it gets intrigued me a lot. And I'm gonna play more of it today for sure.
Yeah, me too. And I feel like if you end up playing multiple endings, I only end up playing one. I'm really keeping for as skeptical as I am keeping an open mind because because clearly people really love this game. I think I'll be most interested if I stop at one and you play like 2 or 3 endings.
Mm-hmm.
If you find something that I'm missing, it almost feels to me like sometimes we watch a film on our show Quest for the Bestest, which is our Oscar movie show, and those are all pretty much objectively great films, you know. But some of them just don't connect with me, or some of them just don't connect with you. And I feel like it might be a situation here where what I see as pretentious or annoying about Nier Automata, other people really enjoy.
Sure.
So we'll see when I play more, when I'm able to have my thoughts unfold a little bit more and see the back portion of Route 1. Maybe my thoughts will change because I do like components of it. I think there's like a visceral satisfaction to the combat in some instances, and then the camera changes, and I'm like,
Yeah, so I actually do have a couple quick things to touch on. These are all obviously early first impressions. Story-wise, I just got to the resistance camp, which is like the first thing you do in the open world.
You're fucking Jesus Christ! Wait, the story just, you think it's going one way, and you already don't know where it's going. It's going to be over here in literally 45 minutes. Okay. I can't wait.
Well, what I'm trying to say is I'm early on. And so these are just my discussion of my early on thoughts. Is the thing that frustrated me the most is I actually already got an ending. I got ending W already. It's because I died in the first level.
Oh, okay.
I died on the first phase of the boss fight. Big fucking guy with chainsaws, with big ass, really big ass saws. And it goes Nier Automata, and it sends you back to the very beginning. I had to rewatch all of the opening cutscenes. I had to play the part where I was flying over the ocean. I had to go through the hallway again. I had to go down all the exact same very linear pathways. And that really frustrated me. The idea that it's an ending is pretty cool. It's like, okay, they died and weren't able to continue the mission, so that's technically a way the story ends. That's a cool concept. But the fact that it made me replay the entire level when I died on the boss fight, which, I'm bad at the game. I shouldn't have died there. But that is a possibility for people who aren't experienced with bullet hell, which I'm not. People who aren't experienced with hack and slash, which I'm not. I died and I had to replay the entire thing, and it was just really frustrating. Like that was 35 minutes of gameplay that I had to play again.
So I actually like that. And if we weren't reviewing it for Backlog Banter, and if I got ending W, I'd be like, that's where my game ends. I would have stopped. I'm playing the Game Pass. I have got no financial investment in the game. I think that's kind of clever. This game, if nothing else, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I when I was younger, I had this Star Wars. This is so specific. I had this Star Wars Choose Your Own Adventure book, and I used to really love Choose Your Own Adventure stories. And I almost like the idea of, sure, you got to play all these endings if you want the full experience, but that doesn't have to be my experience. So I almost like the idea that some people got ending W and stopped the game.
I doubt that.
I doubt it too, but I think there's something fun about really giving players their ability to have their own story in the context of a scripted narrative game. I do think that's cool.
Yeah.
I might be happy if I got an ending 5 minutes into the game and I didn't have to play anymore. But no, I think I will. I think I will like it. I'm not a huge Platinum fan. I should put that out there. Their one good game is Star Fox Zero.
You're really asking for it. You're really fucking asking for it.
No, I haven't played that much. I put a little bit of Bayonetta. I thought Bayonetta was okay. Put a little bit of Astral Chain. I thought Astral Chain was underwhelming.
Did they or did they not help with DMC5?
No, that's a Capcom game.
No, I know, but
fucking awesome.
There's a DMC game that they helped with.
Yeah, they did DMC.
Okay,
right, the one people don't like.
Yeah.
I've also played Transformers Devastation, which is kind of nah. There's Platinum is so weird. They're a weird developer.
Yeah.
I met Hideki Kamiya.
That's cool.
Yeah. I shook his hand. That's kind of neat. I've got a picture with Hideki Kamiya. He was I guess, nice guy. Met him at PAX. Yeah. He was like standing behind. I was there with Derek, right, from Nintendo. He was like standing behind us watching us play the demo of Wonderful 101 Remastered.
Interesting.
And they're like, hey, can we go meet Kamiya? And the guy at the booth was like, yeah, let's go meet Kamiya. I took a fucking picture of Kamiya. Does make his games good. His early stuff is good. He did used to make the Devil May Cry. He used to be part of Capcom, which is why he's more integrated in Devil May Cry than Platinum as a whole. They came back to make the bad Devil May Cry game. Not 2. 5-ish spinoff.
I haven't played any of those games. I have no perspective.
We could have been playing DMC5 instead of.
It's true.
Automata.
That was the other option, or one of the other options. You have one more game to talk about? Yes.
No? I got one more game to talk about, and I have a secret segment.
Oh fuck! All right, let's do this.
Secret segment?
No, let's save that for the end.
Okay.
I like having our special segments at the end.
Okay.
Makes me happy, satisfied. I don't know why. Fulfilled.
So you
nourished. I hate the word nourished.
You played one more game this week. Or didn't you? I thought you had one more game. Do you not?
No.
Oh, it was Nier. Well, I have one more game.
Oh, good for you.
Talk about Hitman 3.
Oh, that's fucking right.
Yeah. So, big flashing disclaimer. I got a review code of this game from IO Interactive. I reviewed it for CBR.
Provided by Nintendo.
Not quite. But I got a review copy of this game to play and review it for CBR.
Yep.
So I got to put that out there first and foremost. My review, if it's not published right now, it definitely will be by the time our video goes live.
By the time this goes, yeah.
100%. So this is my first Hitman game. I was asked to review it, and I was like, you know what? I'm not familiar with the series, so let's maybe we should ask around the team, see if anyone else has more familiarity. If they don't, I always want to try these games, so I'd love to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I of the cross section of writers who have a PS5,
mm-hmm.
None of us had experience with Hitman, and my editor wanted me to take a look at it, so I did. And this game's great, which is not a new thing, right? But what's most interesting with this game is its core design. I love talking about game design. I love interesting game design. And what I think my buzzword for Hitman 3's design is that it's non-judgmental.
Okay.
And it was a game developed with zero ego on behalf of IO Interactive. And what I mean is, essentially, the game is broken up into 6 like sandboxes, and the mission for them is some variation of there's a person you got to kill.
Yeah.
How you do it is completely up to you.
You gotta hit a man.
You gotta hit a man. And so you can either completely freestyle it and like pick up, like set up a fucking devious trap, just get costumes. You could just go in and shoot the person if you wanted to, right? There's all kinds of things you can do. But you can also do these what are called story hits. You like patrol around and you overhear a conversation that leads to a bigger narrative. So one of them is you're going after this woman in her like Victorian fucking ritzy mansion. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Almost like a Knives Out type of mansion.
I've heard that fucking reference to that level in like 4 podcasts that I've listened to.
Well, it's a really cool level.
So no, I don't doubt that, but I'm the Knives Out comparison. I mean,
yeah, because everyone's seen Knives Out, and it's the most recent point of fucking interest we have. Okay, it's like Luigi's Mansion.
I doubt that.
It's not. There's no ghosts or Luigi. But the idea is there's like this private detective coming to the home. You can trail him, kill him, put on his costume.
Yeah, that's the Knives Out part.
Yeah, and then you literally do a detective mystery. You pretend to be the detective and you go around and you pick up clues. Which is really
do that.
Well, here's what's fun about it. What? I did it for part of the time.
Okay.
And then I was like, you know what? This gives me access just to kind of freestyle off of this.
Yeah.
So what I mean is the way that this game is non-judgmental is IO creates these incredibly rich and obviously well thought out and meticulous tracks that the player can follow, but they don't care if you break them. You can just stop a story hit and go off and do your own thing, use the hit improperly, change the course of things, and IO is totally fine with it. And it takes a really confident developer, I think, to lay out all of this content the player may never see and may interact with improperly, and let them do it. It reminded me a lot of Breath of the Wild in the sense that Breath of the Wild gives you a start point, they give you the Shrine of Resurrection, and they give you an end point, and that's Calamity Ganon.
Yep.
And they have built a lot of content in there. They've built hundreds of hours of content in there. And you can engage with it as improperly or as properly or never at all, and they don't care.
Yeah.
And IO does the same thing here, and it's so special. And the other thing IO does is they set up these, one of my favorite, I think Celeste is a fine game, but one of my favorite things about it is listening to Maddie Thorson talk about the way the game is designed to kind of implicitly help the player. A lot of the platforming stuff, little things happen behind the scenes to work with the player, but inadvertently, like you would never know you're being helped. You basically have a guardian angel when you're playing Celeste. IO does a similar thing here where they set up these moments for you that you have to find, you have to parse out. They're not part of story hits. They feel so organic. They feel like you set them up yourself. But actually it's IO doing it, and IO doesn't want any of the credit. For instance, you're in this like rave club, and there's this guy you have to take out, and if you follow him, eventually he's going to stop and like lean on a railing. If you get the right crew costume and you distract one of the guards, you can go over and just push him off of the railing. He'll fall down at the dance floor and die, right? Obviously, IO knows that if you do this certain series of actions, you have this hit set up for you. But the way you find it as a player makes you feel like it was entirely in your control. So the success of this game is how it works on multiple levels. It's this empowering non-linear gameplay experience about player agency that is so tightly scripted. It's more scripted than how Naughty Dog scripts something. But that's underneath the surface, right?
I think the idea of having all these different scripts accessible through choice is very interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I love the game.
Yeah, so there's 2 questions that I have, and they're kind of tied together. A lot of the value in this game and the high praise that it gets is its replayability for the missions.
Yes.
A, did you replay any of the missions multiple times? B, will you go back to them and replay them more?
So I did a little bit just to do my due diligence to make sure that I was representing the game fairly in the review.
Yeah.
But I am not the sort of person, I like you were talking about with Nier Automata, you like to hit the credits and move on. And I personally felt that the quality of the experience was fine. Like, I'm not somebody that needs a X number of hours to feel satisfied with the game. I beat the campaign in 7 hours, the 6 missions in about 7 hours, and I felt good with that.
Is that with some replay? Did you replay any of the missions in
No,
that
no,
time?
that was
Okay.
before. That's before. IO has crafted these sandboxes so fucking meticulously. They're literally, because you can check out how many different hits there are and everything. There's literally like 50 challenges in each of these
Huh.
stages.
Okay.
They are so dense and so creative, and at the same time, other players can basically make online contracts where they look in the sandbox and say, okay, you're going to go after this person, and you have to wear in this disguise and using this weapon and everything, right? So there's even more replayability based on the
Interesting.
online community put on top of that.
Had never heard of any of that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, you could spend, honestly, you could probably spend 10 hours in each of these locations.
Mm-hmm.
And not get bored, because it's constantly asking you to do something. It's not just score chasing in the sense of how I love playing Star Fox 64 over and over again and doing the exact same thing over and over again and just getting better at the mechanics. This is legitimately tackling the challenge in a completely fresh way
Yeah, sure.
every time, which is so cool. I don't think the game is perfect. The AI is sometimes weirdly bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one part where I was playing as a detective, but I had killed him already, and I was wearing his costume. And I'm standing in the house, kind of waiting for people. Got my hands behind my back. I'm looking out the window, listening to their conversation behind me.
Mm-hmm.
An NPC starts walking over to me. I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh my god, there's going to be like an emergent moment of gameplay here where they're going to confront me because I'm not the person.
Mm-hmm.
But their model walked up and phased into mine because their AI path is to go and walk and look out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, this was my model and their model stuck
Yeah.
together. So there are moments like that. There's another moment where I was on a train and I yanked a guy out the window, but his body ragdolled weirdly and got like clipped into the window. So he's dead. The game recognizes him as dead, but his body is stuck in the wall.
Uh-huh.
Then another guard noticed the body.
Yeah.
Right. So there's stuff like that. It feels a little bit janky. Some of it can easily be patched out,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
some of it is more integral to how the AI itself is programmed.
Mm-hmm.
Which, especially after playing a game like Last of Us Part 2, is disappointing when I've seen how real life and live-like AI can be.
Yeah.
And for the most part, AI is really great here. But when it's a game about its meticulous planning, about understanding patterns and everything, when the AI fucks up, it's more noticeable than like when I'm playing Cyberpunk and someone fucking phases through a truck.
Yeah.
That's a different gameplay experience than Hitman.
Yeah. No,
So I
for
feel
sure.
like yeah.
I do think that the immersion in the world and the believability of these scenarios that you put yourself in.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that can be broken by a model clipping or a glitch like that. I mean, obviously, as you said, some of it can be patched out, and honestly, I think it will be. From what you've said about
Yeah.
IO and their lack of ego and the quality that they put into the meticulous detail of this, I'm sure that they've realized that that's an issue and will
Yeah.
patch that out sooner rather than later.
So I've got two final points about it.
Okay.
First is that it's a sequel, but it's a platform. It rolls all of the Hitman trilogy content into one game. If you own the past games, you have access to all of that content here.
Mm-hmm.
With cross progression, you can bring items for Hitman 3 into the older maps to play those in new ways.
That's interesting.
Like all of that content was like redone to be basically Hitman 3 content. But you have to buy it, which is totally understandable. I wouldn't expect them to give you those two games for free.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're only playing Hitman 3 and you only own Hitman 3, the game feels kind of scummy when you boot it up because it displays all that content like you own it, but it's grayed out. So a lot of the menus feel like these overt advertisements that feel really weird. It feels very transparently give us more money to get the rest of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
even though it essentially isn't the rest of the experience.
right, it's not, but the way they position it is
No,
weird.
I understand that. Yeah.
They're like, hey, here's multiplayer. Here's 2 multiplayer modes. One of them is not available unless you own Hitman 2. So the way they present content and the way they flood you with all this stuff if you don't own it, it's different than having like a store in Assassin's Creed where you can buy EXP boosters, but it feels the same to me.
Mm-hmm.
And for as much as I really enjoy AAA big tentpole Western gaming more than a lot of people do in some respects,
Mm-hmm.
I really push back and reject this in-game marketing, and this is really what it feels like. to an extent, it's understandable because IO is giving you this value that no other developer would be giving you. The fact that they went back and redid all this content, the fact that if you're playing on PS4, or I guess if you have the dongle for PS5, you could play the whole thing in VR.
Yeah.
Like that's the IO is doing a lot for the player, but it just feels a little bit in poor taste, I think, booting up the menus and then being like, hey, connect to the internet, and then hey, here, sign up for your IO account, and then hey, here's all the stuff you don't own. It's also a little bit more jarring. We've been playing so many older games, and I found myself really enjoying playing older titles a little bit more in some respects. Having just this finished, pressed on disc or in a cart experience. This is all it is. It's the changing face of the industry, and in some respects, it's good intentioned with what IO is giving you, but in others, it's just feels a little bit weird.
Yeah. I mean, that's such an easy thing to not have an issue for. Like if you have a little badge in the corner that's a shop icon or something, and you go into it, and then if you unlock that, it goes swing, like, look, it's now on the menu. Those sort of things are so easy UI wise to make feel engaging and not scummy. It's interesting that they put that so up front because I didn't know a lot about what the extra content meant, and the more I hear about it, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, there's clearly a lot of development time that went into that. It's a really surprisingly good deal. Like, I can't think of any other game that it'll essentially allows you to play the entire series in it, but with the updated mechanics and stuff. Like,
Absolutely.
That's a crazy concept, really cool. But yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard anyone comment on the menu design like you had, but that's certainly something to comment on. Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and the last point is the game's stunningly beautiful. I was playing on PS5, and I've heard from like Jeff Grubb and people that this game does not have ray tracing, but you would be fucking shocked if you saw this game running on PS5. It's stunningly beautiful. And so between the beauty of the game, the soundtrack's really fun. It gives you almost like this like campy detective vibe at some points when you're dragging a body around. There's like a fun gleefulness to the game. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which is really awesome. Like you can, like one of my favorite hits I did, I was like hanging out. It's almost like European outdoor bar area. And there was this person I was stalking, and I picked up a clothes iron and threw it at the back of their head, and they fell into a canal. And so you can just do goofy slapstick stuff like that, and it's just the game has a unique blend of zaniness and self-seriousness. It's really fun. This is a really great game, and I will be playing Hitman 1 and Hitman 2. Not right now, just because I've got other things on my plate, but I'll definitely buy them on PS5 so I can have all the Hitman 3 upgrades. IO is really setting the tenor for gaming in 2021 between the quality of this and the announcement of their Bond game, which I think sort of precipitated the Machine Games Indiana Jones stuff.
Yeah,
IO is a great team to watch, and they made a really great product here, and I'm very happy with it. In light of its flaws, I think it's a special game, and it doesn't feel throwaway like sometimes you play a triple game that that's going to be superseded by the same experience next year.
Sure, yeah.
This feels distinct, and it feels deliberate, and it feels incredibly designed and masterfully executed in light of its issues. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I just realized we could have made this its own video. Like that would have been easy. Your thoughts on Hitman 3 video to make. Yeah, okay. But last thing about Hitman, strangely enough, is Tanner Dykstra, my roommate, just bought or has in his PS cart the collection of Hitman Blood Money and Hitman Absolution for $18, currently on sale.
Interesting.
I don't know how different those games are than the more modern trilogy, but I'll have access to playing them, so I'll be able to play something Hitman. But the more you talk about this game, the more I'm like, that sounds pretty interesting. Like I might want to try that at some point. But I think that's it's more of one of the games that will probably be $30 nearing the end of the year, so I'll be able to pick it up then. But I do want to try it for sure.
Yeah, the older Hitman games are definitely jankier. They're Funhouse games. Funhouse played them and notoriously had a lot of fun with them.
Which is probably why Tanner.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, the IO games I think are really special. 3 was a great start to AAA gaming in 2021.
True.
Ready for the secret segment?
God damn it, let's fucking go.
Okay, you have to talk to the audience for like 30 seconds, so I have to go grab it. So this is a physical segment. It's downstairs.
All right, just go. All right, guys. This man that I work with, that I do these videos with, he knows no bounds when it comes to him coming up with weird shit. He has not told me anything about this. I don't know what's going on. So there he is. He's got something. Doesn't have anything in his hands. Where's the thing? How you
I
doing?
went to grab it earlier. What were you talking about?
You?
Just a couple girls gossiping, telling tales out of
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. It's like a sleepover.
I want to talk to you about this.
Why?
The reason I want to talk to you about this is because we do a lot of.
I'm gonna name the little segment on the bottom of this.
Okay, that works. The reason I want to talk about this is an issue of Nintendo Power. I'm trying to see what the date is on here. The volume 47 from the 90s.
Your Honor, I present volume 47 of Nintendo Power. My client is not guilty.
The reason I want to talk about it is because we spend a lot of time learning about where the industry came from. We spend a lot of time exploring its history, playing really old games, playing some sixth generation stuff. We do a lot of exploring what we missed when we were growing up, right? And what came before us. But it's you wouldn't be able to talk about the modern gaming landscape right now without talking about YouTube and the way that games are covered and the way that we consume game content and media, right? But back in the 90s, you had Nintendo Power. And I grew up with Nintendo Power, but it was in a different era. I have all my Nintendo Power on the shelf back there. It was towards the end of the magazine. It was when it was dying as online games media and online game journalism was completely killing the print market.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the 90s, this is how you got your news, right? And it sounds obvious, but I think it's important that I'm sure you can find scans online or something to look back at something like a Nintendo Power and see how much different the way information was conveyed to the players, right? And what mattered. Like you go through this, and something that was so fun to me was seeing there are, so much of the magazine is like advertisements. So much of it is this full maps of how to beat these games when you didn't have online access.
Mm-hmm.
Cheat codes, pages of cheat codes, pages of just so many interesting and fun things to look back on and contextualize better. The way we would play a game like the original Zelda and now be able to look things up online. You didn't have that. You had your guide, you had your Nintendo Power, and part of gaming was this peripheral material.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as someone who both loved Nintendo Power younger, when it was kind of not essential,
Yeah.
going back and looking at a Nintendo Power issue like this that was essential, that was the only way to get this news conveyed to you,
Mm-hmm.
I think gave me a different appreciation for the ways that we play a game like Link to the Past on Nintendo Switch Online and call it good, but that wasn't a vacuous experience, right? You read about that in your Nintendo Power and everything. So for me, maybe it's just a gaming magazine that I checked out when I was having lunch that I bought at PAX for a couple dollars, but I liked having this new lens into an era of gaming that we were playing a lot of titles from to better understand.
Now, is that the segment? Is you talking
That's
about
the segment.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if there was a further question to spur on a conversation or something like that.
No.
No. Okay. Well, why would there be? What am I thinking? No, fucking insane.
I just thought it was an interesting thing to share with the audience in a fun little thing that I wouldn't talk about in any other context, but for
true.
BLB it'd be fun considering we spent a lot of time investigating older content.
Mm-hmm.
So hit Nintendo Power volume 47.
The classic segment. We'll make sure to bring it up again next week.
If I had volume 48, we'd talk about it, but I don't.
Oh Christ. I don't want you Nintendo Power reviews. But on that note, I think we're done here for the week. We've got plans for what we're playing next week. I like hopping around to other interesting stuff. I'm very much enjoying you surprising me with games that I didn't even know existed. That was fun. But for the future, subscribe, like our stuff, join our Discord. We'd love to talk over there. It's been getting more active recently, which has been making me happy. And we've got a lot of videos coming out. So see you guys in the future.
Goodbye.
What are you fucking rubbing yourself for?
A niche.
You rubbing one out? That's a masturbation joke.